we treat a windfall as different from your regular income. There's a thing called winner's tilt. So if like you win a bunch of money, you might play worse for a little while because you're like, oh, well, I just got all this new money and it feels like free money that I can use to keep playing poker, right? So I think there's a similar thing going on when you get money that you don't feel like you worked to earn. It's like, oh, this is free money. Like I should just spend it on something different than I might spend money that I worked to earn on.
How you make it, how you wanna make it, how you make it, how you wanna.
You are not alone.
No, you are not. Friends, welcome back to another episode. Today, we're tackling a topic that has been suggested by Callahan4274 over on YouTube. They said this: I'd love a Budget Nerds episode about dealing with windfalls, everything from that extra paycheck month to larger windfalls. And right away, I'm like, this is going to be a great episode, so let's do it.
Okay. Yeah. So what is a windfall? I mean, I feel like that's a weird word. Like, I feel like it doesn't describe, like, why do we call it a windfall? Like, I've never, is there like, what's the etymology?
We should have looked this up ahead of time. Why don't you do it right now?
It just popped in my head. Like, why do we call it a windfall when you get extra money? Like, okay, etymology, windfall. Let's see. Oh, thank you, Google AI, Gemini, or whatever you are. The word windfall originally referred to fruit or trees blown down by the wind. Oh, okay. Later evolving to mean any unexpected or unearned gain, particularly financial. Okay. I feel like AI might be making things up. So it comes from the Middle English windfall, that which has been blown down by the wind. Okay, so I think the idea is like, it's like a cosmic thing. Like it was just like it's some fruit that you picked off the ground because you didn't have to work for it, right? So, and I think that's kind of the idea.
Unexpected.
Yeah, but it's not just necessarily something that you didn't work for. I mean, it could be like a bonus at work or an extra paycheck.
Yeah.
But I think we tend to think of it as like big things, like, oh, you got like a big inheritance, or you won the lottery, or something like that. But I think we, for the purpose of this episode, I think any amount of money is fair game. As long as it's not something that like is part of your regular paycheck, right?
Yeah, it could be the 10 extra bucks you get from grandma on your birthday.
I feel like that's too small. Like, is that a windfall? Does that count as a windfall?
That's a windfall to me. Maybe it's because I have so little fun money dollars, but
all right. 10. Okay, so it counts. What if I found like $2 in the pocket of my jeans and I've forgotten about it? Is that kind of a windfall?
Okay, that's too small. That's too small.
Where's the line? Okay, so $2 is too small. $10 not is a windfall.
It's subjective, though. I don't know. Arbitrary. Yeah, depending on the day, yeah. I might tell you, hey, $2, that's a windfall. That's going to buy me guac at Chipotle.
You always get it in there, man. Yeah. Okay. So the point is that it's money that you weren't expecting, and I think that can like kind of throw you out for a loop, because if you've been YNABing for a long time, or if you kind of have a pretty strong ruts in how you spend your money, you know what you want to do. Like you set money aside for the regular bills and your regular spending, maybe something that you've been saving up for a while. But when you get a windfall, it's like, it can kind of shock you a little bit because you're like, oh, I wasn't expecting this. And I think that's the key, is that you weren't expecting it.
Yep, weren't expecting it. And it's crazy. These things happen a lot more often than we think.
Yeah. I feel like anytime we talk about this, people are like, oh, it would be nice to get a windfall. Like, that's like the main knee-jerk response. Like, oh, man, I wish I could get one of those. And probably some of you guys have already commented that exact thing, and now you're feeling like, oh no, Ben's calling me out. But like, I think it happens more often than you think. I mean, it could be like a tax refund, an extra paycheck. It could be a gift from a family member. I mean, we get unexpected money more often than we realize. So it's important to kind of get an idea of what you should do with it when it happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems like, at least for me, there's always a lot of pressure on the windfalls. You know, like there's this, I don't want to screw it up, especially if the windfall is a lot larger than what you're used to dealing with.
Yeah, it can be a little intense. You don't want to waste it, you know? Especially if I feel like an inheritance or something like that might be a really good example where it's like, oh man, like this has meaning, like this has family meaning or something like that. You know, I want to make grandma proud, you know, something like that. There can be a lot of emotion attached to it. Other times, maybe not. It's just like, oh, I got my extra paycheck, which is what I was expecting, but maybe I forgot, you know, and so it feels like a windfall. But the point is you don't want to waste it. And at YNAB, we are all about very intentionally planning your spending. And so I think if you just go through the regular process of assigning your money, you don't have to worry about wasting it, you know? And that's what we're going to talk about. I think is the main thing here.
Yeah. So let's start with step number 1. Do nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Just sit on it for a while, which can be hard, but I think it's really good advice. There's a blog we'll link in the description that our colleague Matthew wrote. Matthew's like, he's a formal financial advisor, right? We've had him on the show.
We have had him on the show.
Yeah. And so he's like the unofficial financial advisor for everybody at YNAB because he loves it. So he's always giving people advice, you know, about just all sorts of things because he's actually qualified, but he does support here at YNAB. So yeah. And he said in that blog, this is the quote, "It's impossible to make a smart decision about financial goals when you're lost in the fog of that new money feeling." Yeah.
That new money feeling is for real. Like you get all excited and then you start maybe getting a little nervous, feeling the pressure of it. You know,
especially
what do I want to do with this money? Especially when it's unexpected. Or if you know it's coming your way. I mean, you know, like take the profit share, for example. We anticipate that around here at YNAB, and I start thinking about it even before it hits my bank account, you know, just running through all these possible ideas. And so, yeah, it is tough to make a good decision when you have that new money feeling.
Yeah, I had this. I can talk about all the money I've gotten. No, I'll talk about it. I did have a big windfall, and I wrote a blog about this, about paying off my house, because it really changed my perspective quite a bit. And I kind of wish I had waited a little longer to make a decision about that money. So yeah, here's the scenario. So my wife and I we were actually on a very rare weekend getaway, and we were out in Asheville. Okay. If you don't know Asheville, it's great. If you live in the Mid-Atlantic, you've probably been there. It's just a cool place. And we were in this cabin, like in the woods, and my wife's grandmother wanted to call us. And we talked to her all the time, but like she like wanted to have like it felt like a serious conversation, you know, because we like planned it ahead of time. We're like, oh man. Anyways, yeah, and she was there with my wife's aunt, and yeah, they said that she wanted to give us some money, basically. So she was getting on in years at the time, and she was moving in with her daughter, my wife's aunt, and sold her house. And this was like, they bought this house in Orange County, New Jersey in 1960 and for like $4, you know, right? And my wife's grandfather had already passed away. And so when she was moving out, they wanted to sell it. And of course, you know, 50 years later, it had grown in value a ton. And when they sold it, she had a good chunk of money. And she was like, I loved what she said. She was like, you know, I'd rather give this money away to my grandkids and my children now, so before I pass away, so I can see what they do with it. And I think that's so great, you know, because you give an inheritance like later, you know, you're gone. It wouldn't be cool to like give it to them when you're still living, you know?
It's like grandma read Die with Zero before it was written.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. And my first reaction was like, well, grandma, like, are you going to be okay? Like, do you need this money? And, they had worked it all out. Of course, they had a whole plan, and they worked out like the tax implication, all this stuff. Right. But it was a good chunk of change. It was enough so at the time, our biggest goal was paying off the house. We were really aggressively going after the house. And that's where we ended up putting all that money. And it allowed us to, after scrimping a few other things, allowed us to finish paying off the house. And it shaved off 2 years of our house payment plan. And I think that was like a 6-year journey, right? So it just like cut off a third of the journey.
Huge.
Right? Yeah. And it made me like really think like, man, I have a lot more, I'm much more fortunate than I thought I was. Like my family has more wealth than I thought we did. And it made me feel like, oh man, I really with this freed up cash flow, like I really want to give a lot of it back. And so anyways, I wrote a blog about it because it was a huge moment in my financial life, just financially, but also just personally, because it made me realize how much privilege I have and how much, I can actually give a lot of this money back and like really be a force for good in the world. And yeah, it was hugely impactful. So anyway, thinking back, I think it was just, we were so focused on the house. Like as soon as we got off the call, we were like, what are we going to do with this? And we're like, the house. It was like obvious. Right. And I think I probably still would have made that decision. Right. But I kind of wish I had just sat on it for like 3 months before deciding, because I think maybe I would have thought of something else. Like right now, we have that big cash flow change with childcare changes. We talked about that a lot for the past, about 6 months or so. And we're going to be working on paying more for my kids' college because we're like, it's so expensive. We need to save a lot more if we want to make a dent in that, right? And so I was thinking like, oh man, maybe we should have taken that inheritance, kept going with the debt payoff plan for a couple more years and put that to college instead. But it's kind of like six of one, dozen of the other. I don't know how that phrase goes. I guess it wouldn't really matter, but maybe that would have been better. I don't know. But I think because I didn't take maybe like 3 months to think about it and just sit, I worry that maybe I should have made a different decision with that money. I don't know.
I don't blame you at all. I mean, it makes complete sense. You guys were that was a major goal for you, was paying off the house early. You were, just going for that. So it makes sense that all of a sudden this windfall came along. Hey, let's just pick up the speed a little bit.
Yeah.
I probably would have done the same thing.
I don't regret it at all. I think the only thing I regret is like maybe I should have waited a little bit and made a decision.
Sure. Like pause, like what we talked about with the payoff pause.
Yeah,
right?
That's
Where
a good example,
you pay off a debt, and instead of just instantly start, rolling the money over and paying off the next debt, you just take a little break and think through other options.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of power in just saying, okay, I just had a big thing, especially if it's a large amount of money and you're totally unexpected. You're going to have all these feelings going around. There's going to be like a knee-jerk reaction because maybe you have a goal that you're going after, but just give it. I think Matthew suggested 3 months for large windfalls. Just give it 3 months and just let it sit in the bank account for a while and think about it. Just to let those feelings wear off, right?
And that might vary. I know for me, if I sit on money for a month, then I've noticed that new money feeling starts going away.
Right. Yeah, so maybe just until you kind of those feelings kind of fade.
Right, where that money just feels, this is just normal money to me at this point.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. 'Cause there's a psychological thing where, and I think it differs for different people, but like we treat a windfall as different from your regular income. And I feel like if I was talking to an economist or something, like money is money. Like you shouldn't really think of it any different. Right. And there is a thing where like, okay, I'll give you an example. When I'm playing poker with my friends, if I win a big pot, there's a thing called winner's tilt. Okay. Where tilting is like where you're playing and you're playing emotionally, and it can be bad because of bad emotions or good emotions. Right. So if like you win a bunch of money, you might play worse for a little while because you're like, oh, well, I just got all this new money and it feels like free money that I can use to keep playing poker, right? But no, like it's just $1 is just as valuable as another because money is fungible, dollars are fungible, right? And you should still play the same way, right? But so I think there's a similar thing going on when you get money that you don't feel like you worked to earn. It's like, oh, this is free money. Like I should just spend it on something different than I might spend money that I worked to earn on, right? And if you let it sit for a month or 2 months or 3 months or however long you need, if the money just kind of hangs around, it starts to feel more like yours, and you almost have the aversion to losing it a little more than you would have if you just spent it right away or assigned it right away.
That's such a good point because I remember kind of walking through that mindset shift. The more that money would sit, the more I was like, oh, it's just money. I can do whatever I want. Where in the early stages of a windfall, I was so protective of that money. Like the thought of even using a couple dollars for like groceries, I'm like, no, that is completely off limits. I have to do something different, out of the ordinary, something extra special with these dollars. But that's just not true.
Yeah. Yeah. So it almost feels anti-YNAB that we're saying like, don't assign the money, like right away. You should probably be careful with that, right?
We're not going to leave it in ready to assign, Ben. I mean, come on now.
Don't be crazy. Right. Yeah. Maybe park it. So yeah, what does it look like practically to let the money sit for a while if you want to do that? Does it
I
mean,
would just create
a category. Yeah.
I would just create a holding category.
Yeah, that's probably what I'd do. Just
call it whatever the heck you want and just park it there for a little bit.
Yeah. Just for like practical software reasons, if you're using YNAB, just park it in a category, let it sit there for a while, keep it in a savings account, and just think and sit with it. Let those feelings wear off. Let it feel like your money. So you're going to allocate it in a way that you normally would if you got money that you felt like you earned, right?
And I think this is a good time to pause and let folks know, because not everyone might be a budget nerd at this point. If you came to this video and you're interested in trying YNAB, the software, we've got a free 34-day trial for you. There's a link, ynab.com/nerds. It's in the description. You can click on that, and there's absolutely zero obligation to test out the software. But yeah, you can experiment with it. And, if you're figuring out what to do with that windfall, it might be a lot of fun for you.
Yeah, if you just found this video because you searched up what should I do with a windfall, welcome, congratulations on your big windfall, and what a perfect time to start really intentionally spending your money with YNAB. So that's perfect.
All right, well, let's get into the questions, the 5 questions that are linked to the YNAB method. I think these are a great framework for considering all the possible options of what you can do with your windfall.
Yeah, and it's perfect. It's what we do. We get money, whether you get it from your regular paycheck or you got something unexpected. You're just going to give every dollar a job. It's the basis of the YNAB method. You're just going to really intentionally think about what you want that money to do and assign it to categories and then follow that plan. And we have these 5 questions to kind of guide you through it. So yeah, let's go for it.
So the first question, well, there's not an order to them, but I always start with the reality question, thinking through what are the necessities that I need to cover. So are there any monthly bills or minimums on debts, monthly expenses like groceries, transportation? That is a legitimate question you can ask yourself when considering what to do with your windfall. I know it's not super glamorous,
right?
And there's not a lot of excitement there. Maybe it even feels like you can't use your windfall for the bills, but you totally can.
That's a really good point, Ernie. Like if it's extra income, you're like, oh, I shouldn't use it for the mortgage, or the rent or groceries. Like that's just too boring. But that's, again, $1 is $1 is $1. And if that's what you need to spend it on, that's great. So assign it there. What does this money need to do before I get paid again? Just ask yourself that question. That's the reality question. And that'll guide you to the next thing. Maybe you've been kind of struggling with some of these regular bills, and getting a windfall might kind of get you ahead on them a little bit, so you can kind of get your feet under you again. That would be great. How much stress would that solve, right? So that's a great way to go first.
I mean, this is something that I regularly do in those months where I know Christy or myself is going to be getting a third paycheck because we're both paid every other week. Mm-hmm. I will push that groceries category. I know, okay, here's the amount I regularly assign, but we've got this extra paycheck coming this month. Maybe we live a little bit more than we're used to, maybe a little bit more YOLO with the groceries category this month.
Well, that's a really good point, because these questions in these categories that come up in the reality question, they are necessities, right? They're the obvious things, but there's almost always a little bit of a spectrum of needs and wants with that. Like, you need groceries, right? But you don't have to buy the super duper fancy cheese if you don't want to, right? Yep. But maybe you can if it's a 3 paycheck month, and
right.
It's the little things like that makes a difference, right? Get the guac, right? Get the queso. I like to put, like, we're talking about Chipotle again. I like to put the queso in my burrito. It's a little extra. That's a little tip for you. Get that. It's like $1. It's $1.70 extra. I know exactly how much extra it costs at my Chipotle.
It's $1.45 at my Chipotle.
Oh, dollar what? What?
Midwest, man.
But I'm in like Central Virginia. I should be paying Midwest prices. $1.45. Oh man. Well, that's okay. I don't have to buy a snowplow, so there's that.
True. It all evens out in the end.
Exactly. All right, so that's the reality question. Next up is stability. What larger or less frequent spending do I need to prepare for? These are really the non-monthly things. And I think a windfall could really go far here. We're talking about regular things like software subscriptions, like the Amazon Prime that comes out once a year, YNAB that comes out once a year, anything that's not monthly, but also really unpredictable things like car repairs, things that tend to blindside you and you might treat like an emergency, but really you can anticipate. You don't know exactly how much it's going to cost. You don't know when those things are going to come around, but you do know that's going to happen. So if you can set money aside for that now, you'll be so much better off later. And I think this is where a windfall could really shine, get you ahead on those things.
Huge, especially if these types of expenses and bills have tripped you up in the past. The car repair caught you off guard, or having to repair that water heater. You swipe the card and you're like, man, I don't have the money now, but I'll figure out a plan later on. That can be really stressful. So giving yourself some extra breathing room by setting money aside from the windfall for these non-monthlies, boy, that's going to be a huge, huge win.
Yeah. Another thing I find comes up, this is related to windfalls, but kind of like, I'm going to like kind of turn it and like back into it a little bit here. Okay. So if you're a YNABer and you're following this method and you're asking yourself that stability question, what large or less frequent expenses can I prepare for? And you're already setting money aside for the car repair, for the tax bill that comes once a year, or the real estate tax or whatever it is, those things that really freak you out. If those are already covered, when you do get a windfall, it's really a windfall. You know what I mean? Because you're not cleaning up past debt from Christmas 3 months ago, right? And you're not like playing catch up of like, oh, well, I really would like to spend this windfall on, getting ahead on paying off the house or doing something fun or going on vacation. But I feel like I can't because I got that tax bill coming up, right? But if you've been saving for that, turn those non-monthly expenses into a monthly subscription, kind of by setting money aside for it every month. When you do get a windfall, you can actually do whatever you want with it without worry or stress, right? You ever feel that?
I felt it so deeply back in the day. These were early YNAB days, pre-YNAB days, where the windfall, I was expecting that windfall, because I needed it. I
Right.
needed that tax refund to pay off Christmas from 2 months prior. And I just remember like how tightly I would hold those windfalls. Like, okay, take the tax refund. It's tough to predict that. I mean, we've talked about taxes numerous times on the show.
I know, man.
Can't figure it out.
Although I will say this, can I give an update real quick? I hit it. Like, I think I owed I think I owed like $60 on my federal tax this year. So I just like nailed it.
and I can confirm that because as soon as you filed your taxes, you slacked me and told me that you nailed it.
I messaged this. Like the first thing I did was message Ernie. I totally nailed it. But I have no idea why. I mean, I adjusted things. I guess I got it right. But who knows about next year? Yeah, whatever.
Right. And that's what I was doing. I was like, okay, we got this amount last year. And so I'm kind of expecting this amount this year. Mm-hmm. But if that didn't come, if it was a different amount, then it just like, oh my goodness. Like, I just remember how horrible that felt because I was expecting it. I really needed it.
And what a bummer because you got extra money, but because it was less than you thought and you really were relying on it.
Yes.
It was a sad time instead of a happy time, right?
And I can't place the year, but that first Christmas where we were able to pay for with our actual money and not rely on that tax refund, oh my goodness, it was just a completely different feeling.
Yeah. And you mentioned Christmas. Years into using YNAB, I just didn't save for Christmas. I don't know why I did this. Like I was saving for all these other non-monthly expenses. I was doing the YNAB thing, but for some reason, like the quintessential non-monthly expense that we should save for as YNABers, I just wasn't doing. And I think the reason why is because I got into the habit of when I was being paid every other week, and I got an extra paycheck in October, and we would use that extra paycheck to fund Christmas. And I think I just like I was like, oh, I'm just gonna keep doing that because I didn't want to have the pain of like actually reducing my cash flow every month to start saving regularly. And I did this for I don't know 3-4 years into using YNAB, and I just kept doing it. But then I think I had changed in income. And I was like, okay, and we made a big change. We're like, let's actually save for Christmas. And when I did get the extra paycheck in October, it was a total different experience. Like it wasn't just already spoken for. I could actually make a decision about that money. Felt really good. So yeah, windfall is really a windfall so long as you're asking yourself that stability question.
Interesting. And this is, I've been using YNAB 13 years now, coming up on that 13-year mark. And anytime a windfall comes, and I've had dozens over the last 10 years or so, I always go through all of my non-monthly categories. I look at the amount and I just ask myself, how do I feel about that?
That's
and if
really
I
good.
feel like I need to put a little extra in, I do. No guilt or shame about it.
That's really good. I should do that because we just got our profit share. Why not we get it every 6 months? And I'm gonna have a budget meeting with Caitlin about it soon. And we have a list of things we want to go for. But yeah, that's a good idea. Like we should take the opportunity to go through. I have a little irregular category group. Should go through the irregular expenses category group and see how do I feel about this? Because I can guarantee you there's a few that are a little low and I'm a little uncomfortable with it.
Yeah, for me, it was car repairs.
Yeah.
So I have a big repair coming up on our boys' vehicle, which is also the reason that the category is a lot lower than I'd like it to be.
Right.
Curse that third vehicle. But hey, I'm glad we're able to put money aside for it. That's a huge blessing. But I was like, okay, I need a little bit more in anticipation of this, so let's do it.
Nice. All right, let's move on to resilience. I think this is a perfect one that could really, a windfall could really get you ahead here.
Yeah, so this is where you start thinking about next month. Mm-hmm. What can I start setting aside to get ahead of next month's expenses? We talk about getting a month ahead all the time around here at YNAB, and having a windfall is one of the best ways to speed up that getting a month ahead process.
Yeah, a lot of people make it a goal to, like a very focused goal to get a month ahead on their expenses, be able to get to where they're fully funded on the first. So when the first of the month arrives, everything is funded with real money that they actually have in the bank. But a lot of times in the stories I hear, people are saying, yeah, actually, I got an extra paycheck or I got a tax refund, and that finished it off, right? Because it can be hard. You need your regular income for your regular bills. So you actually, in order to do this, you really do need to reduce your spending and make it a goal to actually really intentionally set money aside into the future. So an extra paycheck or any kind of windfall can get you there faster. And I think that can be really powerful. And then once you do get there, you're done. Like you live on last month's income. The saving phase is over. You don't have to just keep trying to save every time you get paid. It just goes straight to next month. So if you can use a windfall to just get there, you've gotten there permanently, assuming you have regular income.
Yes. That's what I was going to say. And that feeling of once you get that month ahead, I mean, boy, of all the YNAB feelings, but that has to be one of the top ones.
I mean,
because
made
it becomes a game changer.
Yeah.
Everything can go on auto pay. On the first of the month, there's just something when you look at that next month's plan, you're like, it's all there.
Yeah. Talking about getting a month ahead and like trying to convince people to make it a priority. I feel like it's like trying to like recommend a TV show. It's like a really good TV show, like, oh, you got to watch Severance. It's so good. I can't explain why because spoilers, but I just trust me, watch it. You'll love it. Right.
Yeah.
It's one of those things like, I don't think that people realize, and I was the same way. Like I didn't fully get it, how good it feels to get there until you get there. So you just got to trust us on this. Like you got to go for it. It's huge.
And you can experiment without any risk here.
Okay.
That's the great thing about assigning, right?
Yeah.
You're not saying this is how I have to spend the money. You can assign money into next month, get that month ahead or get partially a month ahead and sit on that for a couple days. Just see how that feels. And if for whatever reason you don't like it, you can always unassign the money and do something else with it.
Yeah, that's true. We're not telling you to spend any of it. We're just telling you to assign it differently. It's just like a little mind trick. It's crazy. Yeah. In fact, when we did the shout outs to our emergency fund first month ahead episode, which was a big one, a lot of people really liked that. When we did that, one thing that we talked about was, hey, if you have a big emergency fund and it's enough to fully fund next month and you're not a month ahead, just take a chunk of that emergency fund and put it into next month right now and see how it feels. You can always pull it back if you hate it. But I think you're going to find that you don't want to go back because it has all the effects of having an emergency fund. Like you have cash lying around if you lost your job or something like that. But you have the added effect of no longer having to time bills to paychecks, having a little more space to make decisions about how you assign your money because you don't have to scramble so much. It's kind of nice because it's like having an emergency fund that's actually doing something for you, besides sitting there for emergencies. So yeah, just try it. If you have the money, try it. And if you don't, make it a priority to try and save to make it happen.
All right. Another option for you. We call this the creation question.
Yes.
What goals, large or small, do I want to prioritize? So is there a savings goal? Is there a debt goal? And again, size doesn't matter, large or small, but what's that life that you want to create with this windfall?
Yeah. This is where you start to dream. You really ask yourself, what kind of life do I want to live? Like what do I want to do with my money, that's actually building myself up, giving myself experiences, or maybe helping your community, So if you have a big goal, go for that. I think that's probably the first thing people think of when they get a windfall. Like,
yep, I agree.
Yeah. So I think it's pretty obvious, but but I think it's important to call it out because, on the other hand, I think there's a lot of people that might get a windfall, especially if it's like what I experienced, like a inheritance from family member or something like that, and you feel like, oh, I got to do something super responsible, and like traditionally responsible. Okay, but creating a good life for yourself is responsible. Okay, and that means sometimes setting money aside for a vacation, or having an experience with your friends and or your family, or buying something that's going to improve your life, or giving it away to improve your community. Those are responsible things, okay? Because the whole point of money is it's supposed to be spent. It's meant to be spent, and spending it on things that make your life better is a good. It's creative. It's productive. It's good. So don't tell yourself you can't. Okay, there you go.
With the most recent profit share we just got at YNAB, this is something that I did. We went out to eat, and generally when our family goes out to eat, we're doing, fast casual, Raising Cane's, Chipotle, something like that.
You don't want to bring those teenage boys to a fancy restaurant. It's all lost on them, right?
Right. But we took it a couple steps up with this particular restaurant and spent a lot more money than we usually do. And
nice.
It was way more than what our regular eating out category could handle. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to use the profit share for this dinner out.
Yeah.
And I was totally okay with that. But yeah, I mean, there was something messing with me. Like, Ernie, you're being irresponsible with this.
You feel that? Yeah.
Yeah, I totally did.
Yeah.
And I just had to tell myself, no, that is not true. I get to do whatever I want with this. And this is a really good family moment. So this is worth it to me.
Yeah. I think I haven't allocated the profit share yet. It's sitting in a holding category right now. But I think it's going to go toward a little mini vacation for my wife and I. We are going to San Diego on April 26th. I think this is coming out like right before that for the YNAB Fan Fest, right? Or is it April 26th? What's the date on that?
No, it's April 23rd. So this is coming out after Fan Fest.
Darn, that's fine. Okay. So yeah, this is already out by that point, but there is the Minneapolis Fan Fest coming up after that. So if you haven't checked that out, if you want to go to this is a great, I'm going to plug the Fan Fest here. If you want to go and spend some time with some real YNABers, meet me and Ernie and some other YNAB personalities and hear from us, go to ynab.com/events. There's going to be swag. There's going to be awesome talks. There's going to be fun conversations. It's going to be like a big party. So if you want to see if you can join us for a fan fest, YNAB.com/events is the place to go. But anyways, the reason why I brought that up is my wife's coming with me to San Diego Fan Fest, and we're going to stay a few days and enjoy the city. And my parents have very graciously offered to watch the kids. I got 4 kids, so it's like this doesn't happen very often. So yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do it. And yeah, that's a good, responsible way to spend the money because it's improving our life, it's improving our relationship. It's good, So yeah, don't feel like it has to be all spent on mortgage next month, unless you want to. That's cool too.
And the final question, we call this the flexibility question.
Mm-hmm.
What changes do I need to make, if any? I love this question because it takes all the pressure off of getting it right with the windfall. With flexibility, you can change your mind. You can decide one thing and then a couple days later or even a couple months later decide, I'd actually rather do something else with it. And that's okay. And actually, I would say it's normal.
Yeah. I think it's good to just make a decision. When it's time to decide what to do with that windfall after maybe an appropriate time of just letting it sit for a bit and thinking, just stick in a category, make it a choice until you actually spend it. You can change your mind. So let it sit there in that space. And then if you do decide to make a different decision, you know what you're giving up in order to change what you do with that money. And that's really powerful because you're weighing the trade-offs then, like maybe here's an idea. Like if you have a windfall and maybe you got like 5 things you want to spend the money on, but you only want to send it to one place, just create categories for all 5 things and literally just stick the money in that category and then sit back and be like, how do I feel about that? And then move it, stick the money in another category, sit back. Maybe 2 days later, stick it in another category and just like look at it. I feel like something powerful happens when you literally assign the money. It almost feels like you're spending it and see what emotions come up. I think a lot could happen there.
All right. And one final question here.
Oh,
and this is where we're going to get really, really nerdy. So this is for the nerds who are a month ahead.
Okay.
When do you make that windfall available? Is it available in the month that you receive it, the current month? Or is it not available until the next month? This is a serious question that we need to answer.
It's so silly. I've done both.
Me too.
Yeah, I sometimes I'll get the extra paycheck is especially interesting for a month ahead. Okay, because you're getting 3 paychecks, but next month is not fully funded until you get that second paycheck, right?
Yep.
So the first paycheck of the month, is that the extra paycheck, or is the last paycheck of the month the extra paycheck? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you get paid every 2 weeks, this happens twice a year, and I've done it both ways. I don't have any.
So have I.
I don't have a set way of doing it. So I think it depends on if there's something I really want to spend that money on. I might be like, oh, well, the first paycheck in a 3 paycheck month, that's the extra paycheck. So now we can go do the thing.
Yeah. When I first got a month ahead, I was like, okay, I'm sticking with the month ahead mantra here, and that windfall is not going to be available until next month.
Right.
But then I'm like, no, that's dumb. Like, I don't need to do that. I don't need to be that strict.
Right.
That's just a little quirk with my personality. So I'm like, I'm going to make it available this month. And that's where I've settled on. And that's what I do now.
And then you get fired right before that third paycheck arrives. You don't get it. No. Yeah, that actually is an argument for waiting. I mean, it is true. Like, if you sit on the money longer, you have more options, right? So if something else comes up
100%.
later, but I mean, if you have a pretty regular, reliable income, like, it's fine if you want to just go for it. But yeah, that's a really good question.
And windfalls are fun. And I feel like when I push them off into the next month, it takes some of the fun away. I mean, maybe that's a good thing. It takes the emotion out.
Right.
And I don't have that new money feeling.
Right.
Yeah.
Let it sit for a month, or so. So I think there is something to that, but do whatever you want. It's fine. Oh, that's a fun question. All right. Should we get to some YNAB wins?
Let's do it. All right, my win comes from Aaron. Aaron emailed in probably over a year ago at this point. We got quite a backlog here of wins. And I do want to let you know, a warning here. This one does involve violence, but it's coming at the end, and I'll let you know when we get to that point. So here we go. I've been listening to Budget Nerds for some time now, and decided to finally write about 3 wins that my family has had with YNAB. As a note, the third one requires trigger warnings regarding violence and theft. All right, win number 1, the awesome. We've been using YNAB for a little over a year now. My husband was skeptical at first, to the point that when I signed up for YNAB, I used my discretionary fund to pay for it.
Oh, wow.
I totally get that.
Okay.
I'm happy to say that a year later, not only does our YNAB subscription have its own category now, but my mother has also adopted it and is having a much more relaxed time with her money as well. Awesome. Win number 2, the pretty. After saving up for 2 years, my husband and I gave our dining room a facelift. We painted the walls, ceiling, and trim, put in new storage solutions, etc. Thanks to tracking with YNAB, we stayed on top of things and came in under $700 under budget.
Nice.
And have a lovely new dining room to enjoy. Win number 3, the very, very ugly, again, trigger warnings for theft and violence. In December of 2023, our car was stolen. In the process of stealing the car, the thieves deliberately struck my husband with it as they fled. My husband was rushed to the ER, where thankfully he was determined to have a lot of bruising, but nothing worse. He has since fully recovered, thank goodness. However, between the theft, the insurance deductibles, and the ER bill, we were able to cover all the costs involved with absolutely no money stress. We could see exactly what we had, and had emergency funds we were able to tap into. If we didn't have YNAB, we would have been so stressed out about where that money was going to come from. So thank you for the help in making a horrible situation a little less stressful.
My gosh.
My goodness.
Man, to go from like, oh, a nice dining room to, oh, the most horrible things that could happen to you. Yeah, I'm so sorry that happened to you, but I'm glad you were able to handle it with minimal stress. I mean, I'm sure it was very stressful, but at least not
It's so
so much
stressful. Yeah,
financial
but
stress, right?
at least there was no money stress, because that just would have made it so much worse.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I love about these things. You're not going to get all the stress out of your life, but you can at least take care of the financial stress that's humming on top of a stressful situation. And it just makes it worse. So yeah, I love to see that. And I'm glad your husband's okay. That's scary stuff, Aaron. All right. I have one from Vicky. It's a little shorter. Vicky wrote in an email and said, I love listening to you guys and I'm loving YNAB. Thank you, Vicky. I started at the very end of 2022. Then more than half a year later, I needed a fresh start after getting behind after vacation and decided to rearrange my budget categories. Vacations are always when you get behind, right? Change your routine. Yeah, do a fresh start. That's good. Sort of following the setup Ernie did in his budget categories video, but that wasn't working as well for me. So after getting behind again, I decided to do another fresh restart and go back to the way I was doing it before with some minor changes. I'm keeping up with it better this time around. We had a small vacation last month and I practiced using the app on my iPhone to keep up with it. I generally use the website on my on my desktop. In June, we're going on a bigger vacation, and I plan to use the phone app to keep up with it. We are also eating out less to save more money for a vacation, thanks to YNAB. So that is my win. So don't give up. Yes, good word, Vicky. If you get behind or get frustrated or you need a different setup, just do a fresh start and start over until you find what works for you. Yeah, really good word, Vicky. I love when a win ends with like, so don't give up. Like ends with some advice, you know?
Go! Yes.
Yeah, do it. Yeah, exactly. It's great. Yeah, it's totally normal if you're trying YNAB. It's totally normal to get off of it before you get those routines, especially if you're you have something happen in your life or you go on a vacation. Just it's not about always being perfect. It's about how quickly you get back to it. I think that's really what it is. And Vicky is a perfect example. Just trying stuff out, being experimental, and doing a fresh start when you need to. So. Yeah, great word, Vicky. I love that.
All right, friends, if you enjoyed this episode and you've got some ideas about what you want to do with the Windfall, we've got a great video for you to check out next. Stop making boring financial goals. I'll link to it in the description, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Happy YNABing.